I'm guessing you live a boring life. You get up with the sun, say hello to the world at large, and off to work you go. 8 hours later, you might relax with a beer, watch your evening news, and slip off to sleep with your significant other, preparing to do it all over again, just like everyone else in the world. We're all like that. Well, most of us are. And I'm thinking that's an outright shame. 'Cause we should all live a life of high adventure, being pirates of the seas, explorers of exotic and faraway lands, daredevils, traversing the oceans in hot air balloons, all while romancing beautiful women and impressing people all over the world, just like Baron Munchausen did back in the day. Back in the day, this dude traveled by riding a cannonball. He got caught in a tangle with a 40-foot alligator, and he even managed a trip to the moon. I mean, come on, our lives today, they just can't compare. Even if the Baron's outlandish adventures were a work of fiction, even if many of his contemporaries of the era were not. From Marco Polo to Christopher Columbus and Vespucci, John Cabot and Magellan, all great explorers of times long since gone. All are responsible for the world we live in today. Of course, none of those assholes left anything behind for me to discover, except for what's left under the ocean or out in space. You know, the new frontiers, none of which I'm traveling to anytime soon. Back in the 70s, I watched a fascinating show called The Search for the Nile, a 6-part BBC miniseries that introduced me to John Speke, Richard Burton, and Henry Stanley, explorers who set out to find the source of the Nile River and ended up finding David Livingstone, whose heart is still buried under a tree somewhere on the plains of Africa. And when it comes to tales of explorers, Dr. Livingstone's takes first place, with 3 major expeditions into the dark heart of Africa at a time when nothing was known of the continent, and disappearing after his last expedition until Henry Stanley Morton found him living in a small village, where he uttered the famous line, "Dr. Livingstone, I presume." And Livingstone's heart, like I told you, is still buried under an unknown tree somewhere out there on the plains of Africa. Now, in case you don't think traversing the jungles of the Dark Continent is outlandish enough to be in this video, and I just maybe might agree with you, so I'm going to tell you about a pirate king, actually, that I'm guessing you've probably never heard of. Henry Ever is the name, and he made off with the biggest pirate haul ever. The Grand Mughal of India had a massive fleet on its way home, loaded to the brim with treasure, a treasure of untold riches protected by a ship with 65 heavy cannon and 500 soldiers stationed on the main treasure ship. Avery was no fool, though. He assembled a team of modern-day pirate avengers and went looking for the fleet, and he found it, all of it. And then Henry Ever completely disappeared from the history books, along with all the gold and treasure thought to be worth over $100 million. And when I say all of it, I mean he didn't bother to divvy up the loot with his team of pirates who looked for him till their dying days. It was as if Henry Evers up and completely disappeared with all his treasure. Now, if you're left thinking it was only men that lived a life of high adventure, let me tell you about a 17th century opera singer, Julia Dubonnet. A mistress at the age of 14, Julia led such an outlandish life that where the truth begins and the myth ends, no one knows. But from what is known, it must have been one hell of a life. What we do know is that she could handle a sword as well as any man, so much so many thought her a man, till she removed her blouse to prove otherwise. Julia also had a younger lover, one so young her lover's mom and pop tried hiding the young woman in a nunnery. But Julia would have none of that. She planned her lover's escape using the body of a dead nun. Another one of her lovers was a man who insulted her, and she then seriously wounded the dude in a fencing duel and nursed him back to life. taking him for a lover. Julia's life is a fascinating study of a woman who lived her own life on her own terms. And I've just touched on a very small slice of her outlandish life, and I urge you, check out her life story. So here we are, friends, at the end of our time together, and all I got left is if you think you're living a boring life, well, I'm sorry, you probably are. But I'm guessing there's some individuals out there plotting and planning to lead a different life than the norm. And that's Susan for this tired old soul. And I'm thinking I should have done things a bit differently. So what kind of life do you live? Nah, for me it's a tequila-fueled life, but you know what? I got no complaints. You know, I really enjoy reading about people, learning about people that just live their lives on their own damn terms, you know? Because the rest of us, what am I trying to say? You and I, our lives are pretty damn boring. But these people that go climb cliffs without any gear, any safety gear, or they're jumping off cliffs in a sail suit or whatever you call it, you know, or they're flying around in those jetpacks, or they're diving to the depths of the ocean without and holding their breath, you know. Yeah, and you and I, all we do is get up in the morning, go to work, and what the hell is wrong with us? That calls for, I don't have any more tequila. I was going to do another shot of tequila, but I can't. That sucks. But I'll leave it at that. This was a fun video to do, and I'm going to find some really super outrageous people and maybe do a part 2. Of course, doing YouTube channel videos is kind of outrageous. Okay, maybe not so much. I'm out here. Love you guys. Thanks for watching. Give me a thumbs up or a sub to the channel. Do something. I don't know. Leave a comment. Do what you want to do.